So this idea that we're not spending enough on roads, that we're kicking the can down the road and not taking care of something in front of us, that's simply a lie. Just last year, we appropriated $200 million more in recurring money to the DOT. Every year for the past 8 years, we've increased funding for roads and bridges. Now, what you haven't seen are the conditions that you should expect as a result of that increase in funding. You haven't seen the interstates and the primary roads and the secondary roads and the farm market roads. You have not seen them put in the condition that you deserve, despite a 120% increase in funding. Now, any other person, any private business, any household would sit down and ask the question, why aren't we getting better outcomes based on this increase in funding? What's broken? What's going wrong? Where's the disconnect? Well, the last couple of years, we did that. We looked under the hood. We found out what the problem was. And it's a problem that I've been aware of since 2003 when I was first Mark Sanford's chief of staff right down that hallway. And in the 14 years I've been here, it hasn't changed. And I'm going to tell you something. It may be a secret to the public, but it's not a secret here in Columbia. That money that's appropriated every year for roads and bridges, 3 or 4 legislators decide how that money is spent. That is the truth. 3 or 4 legislators, by design, effectively have control over how all that money you send to Columbia is being spent. So when we talk about accountability, here's what that means. Having somebody who's elected by everybody in South Carolina, having somebody who's accountable to the people as a whole, the governor, having that individual in charge of how that money is being spent and held accountable by you. Because you can't hold accountable those 3 or 4 legislators that control where that money goes. You can give them a call, you can complain, you can ask why a sleepy 2-lane road got 5 lanes, while a highway down in Jasper County that doesn't have any political clout, a 2-lane road where people die every year because it's dangerous doesn't get funded. You can call and ask that question, but you're not going to get an answer. They're not going to care because they don't answer to you. So when we talk about accountability, we're talking about something that every other state has. Every other state has a DOT structure appointed by and accountable to the governor. Now, are all those other states wrong and we're right? I don't think so. Now, this is a message that when you explain to people, they get. In the last 2 years, when they tried to push through a gas tax increase, I took to the floor of the Senate and said essentially what I just said to you. And as a result of that, they can't pass that tax because when people understand what's happened, when people understand that there's been over 120% increase in road funding and their roads aren't getting any better, they're not going to sit idly by and let another $800 million a year be taken out of your pockets and dumped into that same broken system. They're not going to allow it. Studied for the 14 years that I've been in public service. This is something that is clear to the people of South Carolina. This is something that can be documented empirically, documented with charts and graphs and anything you want, and I will go ahead and educate the Senate once again this year for as long as it takes until they realize that until money's being spent properly up here, and still their dollars are being spent based on a statewide assessment of needs rather than parochialism, that no new gas taxes will pass. Thank you.